On the left of your screens was the last public appearance by Pope Francis. This was just yesterday on Easter, on Sunday, when you had, in fact, Pope Francis there greeting people. And just look at those images. He stopped his Pope Mobile, as it's called, to also bless a young baby as he went by those crowds, ensuring that despite his ill health, he took that time out to greet all of the people who gathered at St. Peter's Square. These images, Shashank, a testament to what really Pope Francis stood for. He was suffering, of course, from pneumonia, but despite that, made it a point to step out, greet the thousands of people who gathered on Easter Sunday, knowing full well what it meant to them to get a sight of the Pope on Easter.
Well, absolutely. I think that, I think over the last couple of months, there was increasingly a sense that his health was not the best. In fact, there were serious concerns about his survival even just a couple of months ago. But he made a full return to public duties, issued his made an Easter appearance, met with US Vice President J.D. Vance, continued with his public engagements and his role as head of the Catholic Church until the end, a befitting example really for someone who led the Catholic Church for well over a decade, really someone who really left a very strong legacy, not always without controversy, but a very strong legacy, both for pushing for greater inclusion of different regions and geographies, including Asia and Africa, into the Catholic Church. Remember that Pope Francis himself was from the Americas, one of the first popes to be from outside really the Western world. That was a major achievement for him, and he ensured that other regions of the world were also very much included. He was someone who was always seen to take a progressive issues, more progressive stance on social issues, whether that was LGBTQ rights, divorce, the role of women in the church. That was something that he pushed for extremely strongly. He was also someone who was involved closely in diplomatic efforts. Someone, even in his last Easter message, calling for peace in Myanmar, in the Congo, in Sudan, in Ukraine, in Syria, in Lebanon. Someone who, of course, played a role also in the conversations between the United States and Cuba when it came to their diplomatic normalization. So definitely someone who was very much seen to be at the cutting edge of leading the Catholic Church into the 21st century, who also led it through some very terrible controversies, including the controversy over long-running sexual abuse scandals that plagued the Catholic Church. He was seen to be someone who was leading the response to that. So by no means a tenure that was without controversy, but also one that has left a lasting impact on the Catholic Church and how it sees its role in the 21st century in an increasingly diverse world.
Okay, Shashank, importantly, and I'm just seeing now the release that's come in from the Vatican, where they've also confirmed that Pope Francis had requested that the funeral rites be simplified, focused on expressing the faith of the church. So there will be a very different funeral from what we're usually used to when, someone of such a high stature, particularly the Pope, the head of the Vatican, passes. In this case, it's been made clear by the Vatican that as per Pope Francis's wishes, you are going to see a very simple funeral, a very simple last rites that will take place, because they've said that the messaging is that he was a disciple of Christ and not that of a powerful person of this world. And that's something, of course, that again is testament to the legacy of Pope Francis, or what he really stood for. And those are images on our screens of Prime Minister Modi meeting with Pope Francis. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shashank, but this was from a few months ago.
Yes, absolutely. Prime Minister Modi also met with Pope Francis. In fact, there was also the Indian government also sent a delegation to the Vatican recently for the induction of certain Indian cardinals as bishops. But yes, Prime Minister Modi did meet with Pope Francis last year. I believe it was when he had gone for the G7 summit, I think somewhere around June last year. He'd, of course, invited Pope Francis to visit India as well. They'd met previously as well. Before that, I think 4 years ago in 2021. So definitely a relationship that has also persisted with India. India, of course, also has a significant Christian community, has cardinals that serve at what are some of the highest levels in the Catholic Church
Tom Vadakan of the Bharatiya Janata Party is joining us on this broadcast. But Mr. Vadakan, my question to you today is not just, as being a member of the BJP, but about how, Mr. Vadakan, you would take away from the legacy of Pope Francis.
I had the fortune of meeting him on December 6th as a part of the delegation that was sent by Prime Minister Modi ji for the induction of an Indian cardinal, and he was in frail health, and he came and did all his duties, and I was, amazed at the man's sense of humor and his saintly life that he has led. And now the Vatican has come out with a note saying that he wants a very humble funeral. It's very typical of him. He's a man who believes in certain principles. And today, Christianity has lost an iconic pope who I think will be remembered for times to come. He had his views on Christianity, on Jesus Christ and the Bible, which he strongly believed in. There were views that were not acceptable to some people, but he stood his grounds and he believed what he was saying was in line with the Christian faith. And his loss will be a great loss for Christianity. And I'm sure Prime Minister Modi ji, who had built an excellent rapport with him, would also see the loss, because India played an important role in his worldview. And I think at this juncture, we Indian Christians are very saddened, and we send our condolences to Vatican on the loss of a great icon. Christianity will remember him for times immemorial.
Mr. Vatican, please accept my condolences as well. Thank you for joining us, with that message of what it was like to also meet Pope Francis, because I'm sure so many take away from that conversation that you've just recounted for us as well.